The harder the truth, the deeper it cuts. But it's the cut that frees you. There comes a moment, subtle, silent, and shattering, when they fear they've lost you forever. It's not the day you stopped texting, not the night you walked away. It's not even when you blocked them or said your final goodbye. No! The real panic doesn't start in chaos. It starts in your stillness. That eerie, unshakable calm that whispers, "I'm not coming back." Stay with me, because what we're about to uncover isn't just a breakup story, it's a transformation. And if you've ever been hurt, left wondering, or waiting for closure that never came, this one's for you. And if you're ready to reclaim your power, press that like button, hit subscribe, and let's walk through this moment together. Hey folks, imagine this. A bonfire that used to rage every night, burning wild with emotions, words, fights, longing, and then one day it's just out. No smoke, no sparks, just ashes. That's what your absence feels like when it's real. Not loud, not dramatic, just complete. And they didn't expect that. They thought they could walk away, play the hot and cold game, breadcrumb their way back into your heart whenever they pleased. But now they're standing there, holding a match, realizing the fire doesn't live here anymore. You see, my friends, most people assume they've got time. Time to ignore you, time to mistreat you, time to leave and come back when they feel ready. But they don't fear losing you when you cry or reach out or try to talk. They only panic when they realize you've stopped doing all of that. When they feel the void, not just of your presence, but of your energy. That energy that once circled around them like planets orbiting a sun. When they feel you've reclaimed that orbit, that's when it hits. They never feared silence until yours became permanent. And let me break a lie for you here. They always knew what they were doing. The pulling away, the mixed signals, the tests. They knew it was hurting you, but they also knew, back then, you'd stick around. What they didn't expect was growth. The kind of growth that doesn't shout. The kind of growth that quietly packs its bags, moves forward, and never looks back. That, my friends, is the moment they fear most. Not the scream, not the fight, but the shift. The day they feel that your soul no longer leans toward them. And let's be honest, it's not easy to reach that point. It takes nights where sleep feels like war, days when you want to reach out, explain, fix it, but you don't. You hold the line. You turn the pain into discipline. You turn the silence into power. And that's what Stoicism is, folks. Like Seneca said, sometimes even to live is an act of courage. And you chose to live without needing their validation. That makes you powerful in ways they will never understand. They might smile on the outside, pretend they don't care, post things to spark your attention. But inside, they feel it. That emptiness where your energy used to be. That chill in the air that tells them, you're not coming back. You've stopped hoping. You've stopped watching. You've stopped explaining. And that right there is the beginning of their regret. So if you're in that place right now where you're detaching, rebuilding, finding peace where there used to be noise, I want you to know this. You're not weak for letting go. You're strong for finally choosing you. You've outgrown what drained you, and you're stepping into who you were always meant to be. Write this in the comments to anchor it in your soul. I've reclaimed my power. Let them see it. Let the world know you're not chasing anymore. You're choosing. And if this message hit home, don't forget to press that like button, subscribe for more Stoic fire, and stay with me. Because what's coming next will open your eyes even wider. The moment you no longer react. There's a specific kind of silence that doesn't come from passivity. It comes from power. And when you stop reacting, not out of bitterness, but out of peace, it hits them harder than any words ever could. That's when fear starts bubbling beneath the surface. Because the moment you no longer react is the moment they realize they no longer control how you feel. Imagine a storm that used to terrify a village every time it rolled through. Lightning, thunder, wind, chaos. People would scramble, hide, brace themselves. But what happens when one day the village doesn't flinch? They don't close their shutters. They don't run. They just keep living unfazed. The storm doesn't stop, but it suddenly becomes irrelevant. That's what your emotional stillness feels like to them. It used to rattle you, shake your world. Now it passes, and you don't even blink. And now they start asking themselves questions. Wait, why aren't you reacting? Why didn't you respond to that message? Why didn't you comment on their story? Why didn't that thing they did get under your skin? Why didn't you ask what they meant, what they wanted, or what they're feeling? See, most people don't want you. They want your reaction. It's proof that they still hold space in your heart, that they can still pull you in with a word or a move. But when you give them nothing, not silence as punishment, but silence as clarity, they feel that absence like a missing pulse. They thought they had time. They thought they could disappear and reappear, stir you up and calm you down, like flipping switches. But you're no longer in that emotional prison, are you? You're no longer dancing to their rhythm. You've unplugged the wires that once connected your self-worth to their attention, and now they're pulling levers that no longer work. Let's break a lie right now. They'll say you're cold, that you've changed, that you don't care anymore. But here's the truth. You do care. You just care about the right things now. Your peace, your mental health, your purpose. You've evolved past the chaos. You're not unavailable. You're unshakable. Why is this so hard? Because for most of us, reacting became our language. Reacting was how we begged to be seen, to be understood, to be chosen. So not reacting, it feels like betrayal to that old self, the one who always needed a reply, who needed closure, who needed to be heard. But growth demands stillness, and your lack of reaction is not silence, it's resolution. Seneca once said, "If you wish to be loved, love." But let's evolve that. If you wish to be respected, respect yourself first. And you've finally started doing that. You're not proving anything anymore, not trying to show how much you cared or how hurt you were. You're letting your calm speak, and they hear it loud and clear. It's difficult, yes, because your old self wants to reply, wants to ask, wants to react. But your new self understands. Not everything deserves your energy. Not every message deserves a response. Not every move they make requires interpretation. You don't owe them confusion. You owe yourself peace. And here's what's beautiful about this shift. When you no longer react, you give yourself the space to observe, to reflect, to grow. You stop being a character in their story and start writing your own. You become unpredictable, unreachable. And that, my friends, is when they start fearing they've lost you forever. Not because you walked away with fire in your chest, but because you stayed with peace in your soul. So if you're sitting there right now, debating whether or not to react, don't. Let your growth speak. Let your silence remind them that you no longer live in the same emotional neighborhood they used to visit. You've moved on, quietly, powerfully. Now, I want you to lock this in. Type it in the comments below. I protect my peace. Not to prove it to them, but to show yourself. Show the world. Let them see you're not who you used to be. You've upgraded. You've evolved. And stay with me, because what happens next after this shift, that's when they start losing sleep. And we're just getting started. When you're absent, but not waiting. Sometimes the greatest act of love is not to hold on tighter, but to let go completely. There's a kind of absence that screams louder than any confrontation. It's not the type where you disappear hoping they'll notice. It's not the dramatic silence hoping to trigger a chase. No, it's the kind of absence that carries weight, the kind that whispers, "I've moved on, and I'm not looking back." That's the absence that shakes them. That's the absence they never see coming. Imagine an empty chair. Day after day, someone sits in it. Always there. Predictable, familiar. One day it's empty, not just for a moment, but permanently. At first, they glance at it. Then they wait. Then they wonder. And eventually, that empty chair becomes a symbol of what they thought they'd always have, but no longer do. That's you now. You used to be emotionally seated in their life, even in silence, but now you're gone, not hiding, not waiting, just absent. See, they were used to your energy still orbiting them even after things fell apart. They could feel your presence in the background. A view here, a like there, a random message. That subtle, "I'm still here if you want me." And they liked it. It gave them control. But the moment they realized you're absent and you're not waiting, that's when it hits like a freight train to the chest. They thought they had time. They thought you'd be on pause, emotionally frozen, waiting for them to return, to choose you again, to pick up where they left off. But here's the truth they didn't expect. You didn't just leave their life. You stepped back into your own. That's when panic begins to bloom, quietly, slowly, deep down. Because when your absence is no longer a temporary silence, but a permanent shift, they know something changed. And that change wasn't them, it was you. Let's break a lie here, my friends. You've been told that no contact is a game, a manipulation strategy to make them chase, that if you pull away, they'll come running. But the kind of absence we're talking about, it's not a tactic, it's a transformation. You didn't disappear to make them miss you. You disappeared because you realized waiting for someone who doesn't value you is self-abandonment. And you're not doing that anymore. Your absence isn't filled with longing, it's filled with living. You've been investing in yourself, rebuilding, growing, laughing without needing them to see it, healing without needing their apology. You're not looking out the window wondering if they'll return. You're already out the door walking towards something better. And that absence, it's heavy. To them. Because they can no longer feel your energy in their space. Your silence no longer speaks of hope. It speaks of detachment. Your stillness no longer says, "I'm waiting." It says, "I've let go." Marcus Aurelius once said, "Think of yourself as dead. You have lived your life. Now take what's left and live it properly." That's what you've done. You buried the version of yourself that tolerated confusion, that waited in the shadows, that clung to potential, and now you're living properly, boldly, without looking back. Of course, this isn't easy. You'll have moments when you wonder if they feel your absence, if they think about you, if they regret anything. But those thoughts don't stay long, do they? Because you've learned something valuable. Your healing doesn't depend on being remembered. It depends on you remembering who you are. And the irony. The moment they sense that your absence is permanent, that you're not doing it for attention, not holding space for them in the corner of your mind, that's when their regret starts to bloom. Slowly. Heavily. Because you didn't wait. You didn't pause your growth. You didn't make them your finish line. You walked right past the door they expected you to wait at. So if you're in that season right now, where you've gone quiet, not as a strategy, but as a form of self-respect, let this be your reminder. Your absence is not empty. It's full of you, your peace, your purpose, your power. Write this in the comments and claim it. I'm not waiting. I'm walking forward. Let them feel it. Let the world see that your absence isn't loneliness. It's liberation. And stay with me. Because next, we're going even deeper into the storm they never expected. the moment you start choosing your peace over their presence. That's when things really begin to shift. The day you prioritize your peace over their presence. Never be so desperate for someone's presence that you forget the power of your own. There comes a day, not loud, not explosive, but undeniable, when something inside you changes. You stop waking up thinking about them. You stop checking your phone for their message. You stop replaying the moments, the words, the silences. And you finally start choosing your peace over their presence. That's the day everything shifts. That's the day they feel it. Because for the first time, they're not just dealing with your silence. They're dealing with your stillness. Imagine a river that once overflowed, rushing wildly towards someone who built their home on its banks. Every time they called, the river responded. Every emotional pull, every subtle gesture, every manipulative moment, the river surged. But one day, the river dries up, not out of rage, not because of drought, but because it redirected. It started flowing elsewhere, into fields that actually needed it. That's you now. You stopped pouring into someone who was never thirsty, and you began watering your own roots instead. And they can feel that absence. Not the physical kind, the energetic kind. The shift from being the center of your thoughts to not being part of your peace at all. You're not angry. You're not bitter. You're not even waiting for karma to do its thing. You're just done. That's what scares them. See, they were counting on your need for connection, your desire to keep the bond alive. They thought as long as they gave you breadcrumbs, small texts, random likes, vague words, you'd keep holding on, keep hoping, keep orbiting. But now you've stopped orbiting altogether. You're centered, grounded, still. And when a person expects to be the sun and suddenly realizes they're not even a moon in your sky, that's when panic sets in. Let's crush a lie here, folks. You've been taught that choosing yourself means being selfish, that walking away means you're giving up, that letting go means you never cared. But the truth is, choosing your peace doesn't mean you never loved them. It means you finally started loving you. You stopped proving your worth. You stopped justifying your love. You stopped apologizing for wanting consistency, clarity, effort. And in that stillness, you found something they never expected you to find without them: wholeness. You realized peace isn't found in someone's presence. It's found in your own alignment. In not being torn in pieces just to stay close to someone who doesn't know how to hold you. Epictetus said, "Freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control." And they were always that, beyond your control. Their feelings, their moods, their decisions. But now, your reactions, your focus, your peace, that's yours. And that scares them. Because when you stop responding emotionally, when you stop showing up at the gates of their attention, when you stop explaining yourself, that's when they realize you've leveled up. You no longer speak the language of anxiety and validation. You speak fluency and peace. You speak silence that says, "I'm okay without you." And my friends, nothing is louder than that. They'll test it, of course. They'll poke the bear. Send a message. Drop a hint, try to spark the old flame, but instead of reacting, you stay calm. Not because you're cold, but because you're clear. You no longer need to be chosen. You chose yourself. That's when they begin to feel the loss. Not of your voice, not of your presence, but of your emotional investment. That current they used to draw power from has been rerouted. Now it's fueling your growth. And this shift, it's not temporary. It's not a tactic. It's who you've become. Someone who doesn't sacrifice mental health for mixed signals. Someone who doesn't trade inner peace for temporary comfort. Someone who understands that the deepest form of love is the one you give yourself. So if you're there now, where you're finally prioritizing peace, where their presence no longer holds you hostage, where you feel calm in a way you've never felt before, I want you to celebrate that. Not with noise, with stillness, with self-respect, with growth. Drop this in the comments right now to seal it in your identity. I choose peace. Let it echo through every part of you. Let it remind the world and them that you're no longer available for emotional chaos. You've graduated. And stay with me, because what happens next? That's when they start realizing they never had control over you. They just had access. And that access, it's officially revoked. When you glow without needing to be seen. Your growth will disturb those who only knew you rooted in pain. There's a moment, a powerful, invisible moment, when your glow starts to reach them, and you didn't even try. You didn't post a dramatic comeback. You didn't flaunt a revenge body or throw shade in your stories. You simply started living, thriving, healing, silently. That's the glow they didn't expect. The kind that doesn't scream for attention but radiates from the core. And they feel it. Oh, they feel it deep in their bones. Because this glow, it's not about getting them back. It's about never needing them again. Picture a forest once burned down to ash, empty, devastated, lifeless. People pass by, maybe even pity it. But seasons pass, rains come, sunlight breaks through, and one day green returns. Quietly, slowly, without announcement. That forest doesn't beg anyone to notice, it simply rises. You, my friend, are that forest, once torn down, now blooming in silence. And the one who set fire to your peace, they now walk by the edge of your new world, stunned. And that's what scares them. Not that you're loud, not that you're trying to show off, but that your silence has become fertile ground, that your solitude became strength, that your healing grew wild and untamed, untouched by their chaos. See, they expected you to struggle. They thought you'd be stuck, that you'd be lost without them, maybe even orbiting quietly in the background. But instead, you became the sun, and they can't look directly at you now. Let's break another lie while we're here. They told you that silence means nothing, that if you're not showing them, they won't care. But here's the truth. Real glow doesn't need an audience. You've been rebuilding piece by piece, not for attention, not for revenge, for yourself, for your peace, for the version of you that was buried beneath all that pain. And now you walk lighter, speak softer, breathe deeper. You didn't glow up to be seen. You glowed up to be free. And they can't ignore it. Even if they don't say it out loud, even if they pretend they're unfazed. They notice the calm in your energy, the lack of neediness, the unbothered look in your eyes if they ever run into you, or worse, if they don't, and someone else tells them how well you're doing. It burns quietly, because you didn't just move on, you evolved. You became someone they can't reach anymore, not because you're out of sight, but because you're out of emotional reach. Seneca once said, "As is a tale, so is life. Not how long it is, but how good it is what matters." And you, my friend, are finally writing a good chapter, not for revenge, for redemption, for wholeness. Your life doesn't need their validation anymore. You're not waiting for applause from the ones who once made you question your worth. Your worth was never missing. It was just buried. And now it shines, quietly, brilliantly. But let's not lie. It took work. That glow isn't magic. It's built from nights you cried in silence, mornings you forced yourself out of bed, moments when you wanted to reach out but instead chose to reflect. It came from showing up for yourself over and over until you no longer recognized the version of you who used to beg for someone who never truly saw you. And now, you walk differently. You speak with more intention. You no longer entertain low-effort, breadcrumb energy or emotional games. You've become a person who protects their energy like royalty guards a throne. That glow is made of boundaries, of silence, of truth. So, if you're in that space right now, where your glow is rising not from outside applause, but from internal alignment, stand in it. Own it. Let it radiate. You don't have to prove anything. Your peace is the proof. Your calm is the proof. Your growth? That's the biggest flex of all. Write this in the comments right now to affirm it in your soul. My glow speaks for me. Say it to yourself. Show it to the world. You don't need to be loud when your transformation echoes in every room you enter, even the ones they're not in. And stay with me, because what happens next? That's when they realize they're no longer even a footnote in the story you're writing. You've outgrown the page they thought you'd stay on. When you glow without needing to be seen. Your growth will disturb those who only knew you rooted in pain. Unknown. There's a moment, a powerful, invisible moment, when your glow starts to reach them, and you didn't even try. You didn't post a dramatic comeback. You didn't flaunt a revenge body or throw shade in your stories. You simply started living, thriving, healing, silently. That's the glow they didn't expect, the kind that doesn't scream for attention but radiates from the core. And they feel it. Oh, they feel it deep in their bones. Because this glow, it's not about getting them back. It's about never needing them again. Picture a forest once burned down to ash. Empty, devastated, lifeless. People pass by, maybe even pity it. But seasons pass, rains come, sunlight breaks through, and one day green returns. Quietly, slowly, without announcement. That forest doesn't beg anyone to notice, it simply rises. You, my friend, are that forest. Once torn down, now blooming in silence, and the one who set fire to your peace. They now walk by the edge of your new world, stunned. And that's what scares them. Not that you're loud, not that you're trying to show off, but that your silence has become fertile ground, that your solitude became strength, that your healing grew wild and untamed, untouched by their chaos. See, they expected you to struggle. They thought you'd be stuck, that you'd be lost without them, maybe even orbiting quietly in the background. But instead, you became the sun, and they can't look directly at you now. Let's break another lie while we're here. They told you that silence means nothing, that if you're not showing them, they won't care. But here's the truth. Real glow doesn't need an audience. You've been rebuilding piece by piece. Not for attention, not for revenge, for yourself, for your peace, for the version of you that was buried beneath all that pain. And now, you walk lighter, speak softer, breathe deeper. You didn't glow up to be seen. You glowed up to be free. And they can't ignore it, even if they don't say it out loud, even if they pretend they're unfazed. They notice the calm in your energy, the lack of neediness, the unbothered look in your eyes if they ever run into you, or worse if they don't, and someone else tells them how well you're doing. It burns quietly, because you didn't just move on. You evolved. You became someone they can't reach anymore. Not because you're out of sight, but because you're out of emotional reach. Seneca once said, "As is a tale, so is life. Not how long it is, but how good it is what matters." And you, my friend, are finally writing a good chapter. Not for revenge, for redemption, for wholeness. Your life doesn't need their validation anymore. You're not waiting for applause from the ones who once made you question your worth. Your worth was never missing, it was just buried. And now it shines, quietly, brilliantly. But let's not lie, it took work. That glow isn't magic. It's built from nights you cried in silence, mornings you forced yourself out of bed, moments when you wanted to reach out but instead chose to reflect. It came from showing up for yourself over and over until you no longer recognized the version of you who used to beg for someone who never truly saw you. And now, you walk differently. You speak with more intention. You no longer entertain low-effort, breadcrumb energy, or emotional games. You've become a person who protects their energy like royalty guards a throne. That glow is made of boundaries, of silence, of truth. So if you're in that space right now, where your glow is rising not from outside applause but from internal alignment, stand in it, own it, let it radiate. You don't have to prove anything. Your peace is the proof. Your calm is the proof. Your growth, that's the biggest flex of all. Write this in the comments right now to affirm it in your soul. My glow speaks for me. Say it to yourself. Show it to the world. You don't need to be loud when your transformation echoes in every room you enter, even the ones they're not in, and stay with me. Because what happens next? That's when they realize they're no longer even a footnote in the story you're writing. You've outgrown the page they thought you'd stay on, when they realize you're not checking anymore. Sometimes the most powerful message is silence, and the most painful realization is your absence. There's a strange kind of silence that doesn't just echo, it haunts. It's not the silence of blocked numbers or dramatic exits. It's the silence of disinterest, the silence that says, I'm not watching anymore. And when they realize that you're no longer checking, no longer watching their stories, no longer scrolling past their name with hesitation, that's when it hits. That's when they realize you've stopped waiting for them to notice you because you've already seen enough. For a while, your presence lingered like background noise, soft but steady, a view here, a like there, a digital heartbeat that reassured them they still had access to you. Even if you weren't speaking, you were still watching, still emotionally tuned in, still checking, just in case. And as long as they saw that view, that interaction, that silent footprint, they could sleep easy knowing they still mattered. But then, the views stopped. The likes disappeared. The silence wasn't just silence anymore, it was distance, and not the kind of distance that says, I'm hurt. The kind that says, I've moved on. That's when they panic, because they never thought you'd actually stop looking. It's funny how people underestimate digital presence. They think watching someone's life online is harmless. But in reality, every view, every scroll, every notification is a tether, a reminder that you're still there, even when you're not speaking. And when that tether snaps, when they check the story views and your name isn't there, when they post something baiting your attention and nothing comes back, that silence becomes loud, too loud. Now they're left wondering, did you unfollow? Did you mute them? Did you delete them completely? Or worse, did you just stop caring? Let's break a lie wide open right now, out of sight, out of mind. That's a myth, because the moment your name disappears, it doesn't fade, it echoes. When someone gets used to being seen by you, even silently, your absence becomes a question they can't answer. They refresh, they double-check, they analyze. And the more they realize you're not checking anymore, the more they start checking on you. And here's the truth. They never thought this day would come. Because let's be honest, you used to watch everything. You paid attention. You tried to understand what they were feeling by what they posted. You looked for signs, clues, anything to hold on to. You gave your attention freely, even when it hurt. But now, you guard it like treasure, because you've realized Attention is currency, and you're not handing it out where it's not respected. Marcus Aurelius said, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." And your thoughts. They're no longer painted with confusion, no longer wrapped in what-ifs. You've reclaimed your mind, you've repainted your inner world, and their digital world, it's no longer your concern. This shift wasn't easy. It took willpower to stop checking, to stop wondering, to stop clicking their name just to feel a connection. But with each day you chose not to look. You started to see yourself more clearly. You stopped obsessing over someone else's life and started building your own. That's the real glow-up. And now, you've stopped needing updates. You don't care who they're with, where they went, or what song they posted. You're not decoding captions or checking for subtext. You're not scanning their story views, hoping to feel seen. You're free. And that freedom, it radiates. So let them feel the shift. Let them wonder. Let them scroll through their list and realize your name isn't there. Not out of spite, but out of self-respect. You're not punishing them. You're protecting yourself. You've stopped watching a movie you've already seen the ending to. You've closed the tab, logged out, moved on. Now, I want you to write this in the comments and claim it with your whole soul. I'm no longer watching, I'm living. Because that's the truth now. You're not lurking, you're leading. You're not following their story, you're writing your own. And stay with me, my friend, because what's coming next, that's the moment they realize you've not only stopped checking on them, you've checked out for good. When they see you've made peace with the past. You don't heal by going back to what broke you. You heal by choosing peace where there used to be pain. Unknown. There's a moment, subtle, silent and soul-shaking, when they look at you and realize you've made peace with everything that happened. You're not angry. You're not bitter. You're not even trying to understand it anymore. You've simply accepted it. And that's what hits them the hardest. Because your peace doesn't just say, "I've moved on." It says, "You no longer have any power here." Imagine a battlefield, once loud, chaotic, filled with shouting, running, desperation, smoke in the air, blood on the ground. Every inch of it held memories of struggle. But over time, grass starts growing. Flowers bloom, the air clears, the weapons rust and crumble. The ground softens, no more screams, no more battles, just quiet. That's what healing really looks like. Not dramatic, not loud, just life slowly returning to a place where pain once lived. And they come back expecting the war, but all they find is peace. You used to be stuck in that battlefield, replaying what happened, trying to rewrite history, asking why, wondering what you could have done differently. But now you're not asking questions. You're not searching for closure in their words. Because you found closure in your silence. That's the power they never expected you to claim. And here's what terrifies them. You didn't get peace from an apology. You didn't get it from a deep talk. You didn't need their validation or their version of the story. You gave it to yourself, quietly, privately, powerfully. They were expecting you to still flinch at their name, to still hurt when someone brought them up, to still feel that sting when a memory came rushing back. But instead, you're calm. You speak about it like something that happened a lifetime ago. Not because you've forgotten, but because it no longer defines you. Let's break one of the biggest lies right now. People will say closure comes from conversation, but that's not always true. Sometimes closure is realizing the explanation will never satisfy you, that the truth, even if it came, wouldn't fix what was broken. And the most mature thing you can do, walk away without needing the last word. That's where you are now. You're not trying to win the past. You're trying to live the present. And they feel that shift. It's in your voice, your eyes, the way you carry yourself. There's no desperation, no unspoken expectations, just quiet detachment. And that, my friend, is spiritual power. You stopped retelling the story as a victim. Now you speak from a place of wisdom. You've turned the heartbreak into a lesson, the silence into growth, the ending into evolution. And they weren't ready for that. They thought you'd be stuck, defined by what they did or didn't do. But instead, you defined yourself. You rebuilt your identity, not as someone who was left, but as someone who chose to rise. Seneca once said, "Let us bear with magnanimity whatever it is needful for us to bear." And you did. You bore the silence, the unanswered questions, the what-ifs. And now you're carrying nothing but your own peace. And let's be honest, it wasn't easy. There were nights you stared at the ceiling, replaying every word. Moments you almost reached out. Days you hoped they'd say something to make it all make sense. But you didn't beg. You didn't chase. You sat with the discomfort until it passed. And that choice became your freedom. Now, when they see you, they don't see the person they left. They see someone they can't reach. Someone who no longer needs their presence to feel whole. Someone who found peace, not through fixing the past, but by letting it stay where it belongs, behind them. So if you're in that phase, where your peace is no longer dependent on who hurt you or how it ended, then let this sink into your bones. You've already won. Not because they came back, not because they finally understood, but because you no longer care if they do. So let's bring it all together. The moment they fear they've lost you forever isn't loud. It's not a fight or a goodbye text. It's when your energy shifts, when your silence becomes peace, when your absence is no longer a strategy, but a lifestyle. It's when you stop reacting, stop waiting, stop checking, when you start glowing, not to be seen, but because you've healed. That's when they panic, because you didn't just walk away, you evolved. And nothing is more terrifying to someone who thought they had time than realizing they don't anymore. So if this message hit home, drop a comment below. I've moved on for real. Let them feel it. Let the world see it. And if you're ready for more unshakable Stoic wisdom and emotional clarity, hit that like button, subscribe, and share this video with someone who needs to hear this truth.